Welcome to this very special Be Well with MS podcast episode, where we are going to discuss and celebrate the Brain Health Awareness Week, a time dedicated to understand, protect, and strengthen our brain, especially for those living with multiple sclerosis. The episode is so special because I'm bringing my community of Be Well with MS, my followers, my fans, people living real lives with multiple sclerosis who are going to share their tips and tricks and some inspirational words to you who are newly diagnosed with this condition. So stay tuned and watch this episode. For this occasion, I launched the campaign reaching out to people with MS and patient organizations, asking them to share their short messages for those who are newly diagnosed. Their words are filled with hope, encouragement, and wisdom. And while I couldn't share every single message, I want to say that your words matter, your thoughts matter, and I read all of them, and each of them touched my heart. So thank you so much. Today I have chosen a few beautiful messages to share with you. Those messages I couldn't include. Please know that everything you said to me offline or messages that you texted me personally, all your words matter, and truly appreciate your time and your kindness in contributing to this campaign. This episode is deeply personal to me because I've been running this podcast for the last 5 years, since 2020. And over the 5 years period of time, the conversations, learning, connecting with people who trust me, who listens to every single episode, and there are so many. I really truly would like to connect with you, and it's obviously challenging to do that when we're talking about the hundreds of thousands of people who visit my website on a regular basis. And I'm deeply grateful for every single soul that has joined me in this mission. So thank you so much. To each of you listening today, thank you too, and watching me now on YouTube channel. Thank you for being part of this community. It truly matters a lot to me, and sharing your stories is something that is really heartfelt deeply inside me. And I'm sure that it will echo with many other people who are going to watch and listen to you. So believe that MS is not death sentence. It's the whole life ahead of you and just waiting to be embraced. And we are here to support you and uplift your spirits and remind you that you are not alone. Before we hear of those living with MS, let's talk about something that is very important and empowers us all. How we can protect our brain health, both before and after MS diagnosis. Brain health is the foundation of how we think, how we listen, how we feel. And MS is our brain disease that requires constantly to be adapting, creating new pathways to compensate for damage. There is nothing permanent. Everything is changing. The brain is being injured. The brain builds new network. We call this neuroplasticity. There is a constant flow as the whole life. Nothing is static here. So even if you are experiencing an attack, a relapse, a new change on the MRI scan, don't you worry. But what you do now in terms of your lifestyle, how you look after your body is super important. And so let's go into detail and discuss that. The stronger and healthier you are, and the healthier your brain is, the better we can manage MS, reduce disability, progression, and maintain a good quality of life. So that's why we talk about the two key aspects of the brain health. The primary prevention, which means that lowering the risk of developing MS. And the secondary prevention is protecting the brain after the MS diagnosis is made, to slow down the progression, to reduce that activity, to enhance the function in your upper limbs, lower limbs, to improve your balance and coordination. While we can't prevent MS entirely, we now understand that certain risk factors play a big role in how the MS is going to evolve. So low vitamin D levels are strongly linked to MS risk. So if you haven't started your vitamin D supplementation, please do. And if you have family members who's got MS and you don't have MS, please take the vitamin D. It's a high dose that I do recommend. Try not to exceed more than 5,000 international units a day. That's the safest zone to be, because the higher dose may increase calcium level. And if you would like to prevent from hypercalcemia and some soft tissue injuries, so take the vitamin D with vitamin K together. So daily sun exposure, that's the cheap, particularly if you're living in a very sunshine countries where you can have a sun exposure daily, that's wonderful. You just go with a cup of tea or coffee outside, sit and enjoy the weather and the sun for 15 minutes before you apply the UV protection. So EBV virus is one of the triggers for MS. A lot of heated discussions around that EBV is one of the potential causes of MS. While there is no vaccination yet, the future research will change the whole landscape in MS, I'm pretty sure. Strengthening immune system is super important through the gut, so microbiome, your good quality agnostic diet that is suiting you individually. It's very flexible and you're going to enjoy the foods that you're exposing every day. Good quality of sleep and the stress management may help to reduce the impact of viral infections and also could prevent from getting MS. Healthy weight, healthy body, healthy mind. Smoking doubles the risk of getting MS and also accelerates the brain shrinking. Quitting is one of the most powerful things that you can do to protect your brain. And also be mindful in terms of the alcohol that you consume. If it is daily, that is happening every single day with moderation, there is a fine line of becoming alcoholic. That's true. Obesity in adolescents increases the risk of MS. And in particular in the childhood, if your child is with obesity and overweight, be careful, because that could potentially change the immune system and metabolic health. People with obesity are at high risk of developing autoimmune disorders such as MS and have more inflammation. Mediterranean diet, rich of omega-3, okay, so fish oils, extra virgin olive oil, which is vegetables, fruit, legumes, beans, etc., full of antioxidants and full of fiber. It supports healthy immune system and your brain. Chronic stress weakens the immune system and may contribute to MS development, okay? So you need to learn, if there is anybody in this world that doesn't know what mindfulness is, what cognitive behavior therapy is, and how to meditate and how to improve the quality of sleep, it's really a huge disadvantage living life without knowing how to help yourself from the stress perspective, because stress is all around us. Every single day we are exposed by this stress. But how do we cope with it? What the strategies do we have to implement in our day-to-day living? That's an art. That's something that every single person on this earth needs to learn. Now, let's focus if you already have multiple sclerosis. What's your role now? What do you do? What's your mission to protect your brain health and slow down the progression of MS? Every small habit counts, okay? Quite often people are aware of the healthy living, healthy lifestyle, but changing the habit is something that people do struggle. And also, people do struggle with having a bad habit every single day they expose themselves. They so much get used to that bad habit. And then it becomes a really problem to know what's life without it, in a way. Okay, so if I'm smoking every day, if I'm drinking, it becomes a norm to me, and it becomes so normal feeling to be a bit under the weather and drowsy and maybe off balance and a bit of with a brain fog. But actually, learning new habits, improving your lifestyle, that brings you into the different dimension, and you get used to that wellness. And each time then you expose yourself with the smoking and drinking and all these kind of junky foods, you feel really bad. So this is where you need to be, into this kind of, let's call this A zone, feeling good. And the B zone is all these kind of cheating things that may happen on occasions, but if you can manage to 70-80% of your lifestyle that is brilliant, you feel good, you're full of energy, this is where you need to be. So if you have MS, your mission is to protect the brain and slow down progression. How do you do this? First of all, everyone talks about this, is disease-modifying therapy. Without the therapy, only lifestyle, only diet is not sufficient enough, in particular if you have a very highly active MS. I'm talking about the new episodes, new relapses, multiple lesions, new lesions occurring on your brain scan. With a lifestyle, very, very challenging to achieve the good results and remission of MS. So it prevents from brain atrophy, and in particular, super powerful if you started in the early stages of your condition and your diagnosis. So the earlier you're diagnosed, the earlier you start disease-modifying therapy, the better the outcome. Regular MRI scans is important if you are on the middle grade of the medicine, usually tablet form, injectables. In particular, very careful attention to your imaging and having regular appointments. Not missing appointments is important, because that's how we identify if your disease is active, progressively getting worse, more brain atrophy, more shrinking, more lesions in the brain. That's how we know whether you're responding to the drugs or the lifestyle. If you've chosen to be on the good quality of lifestyle to prevent your disease activity, I think you have to be careful and have regular MRIs. Exercises. At least 2 to 3 times a week, 30 minutes, you should be moving. It doesn't need to be something that Olympics are prepping for their championships. No, it's walking, it's yoga, it's some level of the aerobics, gym, anything, any movement. Our bodies are built to move overall, so that benefits the long-term health. Anti-inflammatory diets, what are they? They are usually Mediterranean diets. So if you've ever been in Greece and Italy, in Spain, you know what they eat. Try to replicate their cuisine in your kitchen. That's the safe place to be. Okay, so they are rich of omega-3. They are rich of the antioxidants, polyphenols like berries and turmeric and various different other fermented foods that contribute to your gut health and your brain health at the same time. Even without relapses, MS can progress. So we call this smoldering. It's a diffuse, slow, chronic progression that we don't see often on MRI scan. But people come to my clinics and say, I haven't had any relapse. My MRI scan is not showing any new lesions. I am getting worse. What is it? Why I'm feeling that the way I'm feeling? Why I'm so fatigued? Why I've got this brain fog? Why I'm not feeling energetic and good in myself? So that could be a potentially smoldering MS. There is no specific cure or treatment for smoldering MS, but optimizing the disease activity with the available disease-modifying therapies and also complementing that with a lifestyle approach. I noticed that people who are on the healthier side, they have often less disease activity. They develop fewer lesions, if anything, in contrast to people who are smoking, drinking, not sleeping, under constant stress all the time, overweight and obese. So tracking your cognitive function, mobility and fatigue are key symptoms to detect whether there are some changes in your body that requires a bit of attention to address that early and adopt management strategies to make you feel better. Quite often people who come to my clinics and say, I've got fatigue and brain fog and various different things, but I say, what do you do to help yourself? Well, I'm sitting on the sofa watching TV all day because I haven't got any energy to do anything else. Well, that's where we need to start, So, the more you're sedentary, the more you're sluggish, and the more you have slower metabolism and hormones disarranged in your body, the worse you're going to feel. As simple as that. Learning new skills is important. I encourage people to play the brain training game. Staying mentally engaged and protect the cognition is important. Whether you want to learn a new language, whether you want to travel a little bit, learn some new culture, mentality, meet new people, learn what are they like, what lives they're living, so anything like that stimulates your thinking, encourages you to engage with people and respond to people and produce your language to summarize their struggles or maybe wins in their life, is how you maintain the brain function at the level that you need to for day-to-day living. So the goal is to prevent your brain from having any impact of the environment and any impact of the genetics because there are some epigenetics that lifestyle influences our genes. I'm not going to go into deep on this topic. It's a separate episode, but you can influence your genetics too by implementing healthy living, healthy lifestyle. So the more you're present, aware of the situation, your habits, the more you're going to protect your mind and the body. Now it's time. So exciting to listen to people with MS and their real stories and what they have to share. Short messages. I hope it's going to be uplifting, inspiring. It was truly, truly amazing to receive all these kind messages from various different corners of the world who are living with MS for many, many years, or a few years at least, and they're sharing their words of encouragement. They're real people, real stories, real experiences, and real strength that is going to be passed on to you now. This is an amazing opportunity. To those who are newly diagnosed.
The diagnosis of MS hasn't just changed my life. It's actually improved it. I know it's not often you hear that being said, is it? Maybe you've never heard it being said before. Maybe I'm the first one to say it. But it's been my lived experience. And yet, MS has thrown the unimaginable at me. It really, really has. At my sickest, I had no feeling from my chin down. My husband was spoon feeding me. I'd lost the vision in my right eye. And yet I was being told that it's a progressive disease and I'll get progressively worse. This was what was to be expected. Thanks to changing my diet and lifestyle and getting to the many root causes of what was driving the progression of the disease, my life, my health has significantly improved, for which I'm very, very grateful for. I would go as far as to say that I feel healthier, happier now than I ever did before the diagnosis of MS. So that's what I mean when I say life. An MS diagnosis didn't just change my life, it actually improved it. Maybe it can improve your life too. Have a wee think about it. Do something positive about your health today.
I'm Evelina from Lithuania and I'm 24 years old. Almost 1 year ago, I was diagnosed with MS. Of course, it was a shock for me. I asked myself, why me and what's gonna happen? I want to have a husband. I want to have children. I want to do a career and live a good life. And I was a person who always cared more about others than about myself. And actually, my life became better with MS. Yeah, it sounds crazy, but I started to love myself. Now I put myself in the first place. In this situation, my family helped me the most. I understood how rich I am. I started to value time that I have. And everyday problems became no longer problems. Therefore, I became optimistic. So my life is becoming better, and this summer I'm getting married. So my advice for you is to concentrate on yourself and live your best life. Live every day like it's the best day of your life. And follow successful people who have MS to see the good examples.
Hi, I'm Eleanor and I'm from Hampshire in the south of England. My message to somebody who is newly diagnosed with MS would be to really try and process the emotions that you're going through. We all experience this in different ways. You might feel sad or confused or scared or even relieved. I know I felt relieved when I was finally diagnosed after a few years of symptoms and not knowing what it was. But I think it really benefited me to allow myself to feel those feelings and kind of grieve for the life that I thought that I would have, that it was now going to be different. But also, different doesn't mean bad. It doesn't mean worse than you thought. It is just different. And actually, MS has brought so much to my life that I don't think I would have without it. You know, it's allowed me to kind of live with uncertainty, and you know, it's made me evaluate other areas of my life and my health that were perhaps not doing me any favors, and just build a healthier and happier life for myself. And I live at a slower pace now, and I love that. I love appreciating the small things and, you know, not taking anything for granted. It's really opened my eyes to the world around me and made me see things that I didn't see before. So yeah, just because it's going to be different, it's not necessarily going to be worse than you thought. And I know that it might seem scary right now, but things will pick up. And before you know it, you'll be years down the line making a message for newly diagnosed people, because you went through that. You know, and it's been 3.5 years for me, and I feel so much more confident, happier than I did 3.5 years ago when I got that diagnosis. Sending love to anybody who is going through a diagnosis at the moment. It's not an easy time, but just a message to say that it's not going to be like that forever.
Hi, I'm Wim from Belgium, and I was diagnosed with PPMS at 49. It was both confronting and confirming, finally explaining the minor mobility issues I had for years that gradually worsened without a clear cause. From the moment I was diagnosed, I chose to stay positive and focus on lifestyle changes. I adapted my diet, embraced the importance of mental well-being through Tai Chi and meditation, and prioritized movement, cycling, Nordic walking, gardening, and so on. Anything to keep active. Most importantly, I focus on enjoying life's big and small moments with my wife, whose support and positivity mean the world to me, even when things get tough. For me, MS isn't an end. It's the start of a new way of living, full of opportunities. As Marlene Smeets beautifully puts it in her book, I see it as a merciful gift. So, also you, grab the opportunities and make the most of them. Bye.
Every year, 7,000 people in the UK hear the words, "You have MS." I remember when I first heard those words. I was confused, scared. The only people I ever knew with MS were Montel Williams and Annette Funicello. Montel's talk show was part of my childhood. I just remember him talking about the pain, like serious, life-changing pain. Like it shook me. I knew I was gonna be in for a rough ride. I also knew I had to expect the unexpected. And if I can go back, I tell myself a few things. First, I say, trust your gut and follow your fear, because your fear holds the map. Like the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. That fear made me change my diet. It made me start my YouTube channel. It made me keep creating videos, even when it was hard. Second, learn how to turn poop into flowers. MS is the poop. The flowers are the connection and the community I've built with thousands of people who get it. No MS, no flowers. The first few months were no joke. Optic neuritis, fatigue, balance problems with no clear answers. Plus a spinal tap that left me on bed rest for 2 weeks. Yep. But I got through all of that. And the moment that I knew that I could handle this was when I got off the bed rest and I promised myself that I was going to do all of the things that I had been previously avoiding. That's when I started my YouTube channel, and it's a place where 7,000 people with MS feel seen, heard, and understood. What's one myth that I wish was busted early on? The fact that MS is incurable. Sure, there's no magic pill that makes it all go away, but you're not stuck. A big game changer for me is meditation. 2, sometimes 3 times a day. I stop everything, close my eyes, focus on my breath, and that helps relieve some symptoms. The biggest game changer? The MS community. Even if our symptoms aren't the same, y'all get it. And that understanding is priceless. And now for this Brain Health Awareness Week, we get a chance to speak to the next 7,000 people just starting this ride. How about you share what you've learned so they don't feel as lost as we did? Because no one should have to figure this all out alone.
My name is Phil C., and I'm from Seattle, Washington, USA. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2002, and at that time it took my ability to play my musical instruments away from me. As you can see behind me, there are a few different musical instruments there, and I play all of them. But I was unable to then because my left arm and hand went weak on me. But I didn't give up. I kept trying despite it. Even though I'd lost coordination as well, I kept trying, and inside of a year I got it back. If you're newly diagnosed with MS, first of all, know it's not a death sentence. You can live quite a long time even though you've been diagnosed with it. But the main thing is that I would suggest, like I did, change your diet, get rid of red meats from your diet, and whatever you do, don't give up. If you've lost an ability in one of your limbs, don't give up. We all have this neuroplasticity process, this natural process that our brain uses to heal the nervous system. We all have it. So don't give up. And by not giving up, using the same limbs, you can get that ability back again. So good luck with your journey. I'm a better musician now than I was before I was diagnosed. So there's hope. And you have a new normal now, but don't give up or end to MS. Thank you.
It's Brain Health Awareness Week, and we're supporting the Be Well with MS campaign. I'm Nick, and I work at the MS Trust. We're proud that Dr. Agne Straukiene is our ambassador. You can head over to our website where we have lots of free resources on brain health, like our Staying Smart series. Plus, you'll find lots of other helpful information for anyone impacted by MS. So let's share the message of community this Brain Health Awareness Week. And don't forget to listen to the latest Be Well with MS podcast. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leanne and I work on the Living Well team at the MS Society. We deliver monthly themed webinars on topics chosen by the MS community, and this includes managing fatigue, stress and balance and MS. Our webinars have expert speakers and people living with MS who share their tips and their experience. We also deliver newly diagnosed webinars, and we deliver this in partnership with MS Together and our MS nurses from the helpline. You can find out more about our virtual events on the MS Society website.
Before I wrap up this episode, I want to take a moment to speak on behalf of someone truly special. Someone who tried really hard to record her message, but found herself caught in a storm of emotions, frustration, and the sheer realness of living with MS. Deborah from London was diagnosed in November 2022. And while 3 years may seem like time to adjust, the truth is MS doesn't come with a manual. There's no set timeline for acceptance, no clear path through the anger, the grief, the exhaustion of having to keep going when you don't even recognize the road you're walking on. She didn't want to lie to you. She didn't want to put on a fake smile and say, "Oh, I'm fine," because some days you won't be fine. Some days it's not inspirational. Some days it's just annoying, just messy, just unfair. And today for her was one of those days. She tried to sit down and introduce herself, to say her name, where she's from, when she was diagnosed. Simple things that somehow felt impossible because MS has a way of creeping into the smallest moments, stealing words from your mouth, joy from your celebrations, ease from things that once felt effortless. In the middle of recording, she smudged her beautiful makeup because of tears. She spilled it on her favorite trousers. She got distracted, frustrated, pissed off at MS, at life, at the fact that even trying to say a few words felt like climbing a mountain she didn't ask to climb. And then, in the same breath, she joked about her top looking great on her skin tone, about craving a pack of Haribo, about not celebrating her birthday because why bother? And that is real MS. It is the push and pull between anger and laughter, between wanting to disappear and wanting to be seen, between saying I'm fine and knowing you're not, but also knowing you'll find a way through somehow. Deborah, you are not alone in this. And to anyone listening who feels the same way, who feels stuck between grieving their old life and trying to build a new one, you are not failing. You are feeling. And that is human. You don't have to be the inspiring story today. You don't have to have the perfect words. Some days you just exist, and that in itself is enough. So Deborah, if you're listening, know this. Even without your voice in this episode, your presence is here, your truth is here, and you are seen. Makeup smudged, trousers stained, frustration unfiltered, you are seen. And your story is just as valid, just as powerful, just as needed as the ones wrapped in optimism and hope. Because sometimes the most powerful message is simply this: multiple sclerosis is hard, and it's okay to say that. As I collect my thoughts and wipe away my tears, I find myself overwhelmed by the sheer power of the human spirit. Listening to these voices has been nothing short of humbling. Every word, every story, every piece of wisdom you've shared today is a testament to something greater than MS. It is a testament to resilience, to love, to the unwavering determination to live well with multiple sclerosis. What I heard today was not just about a diagnosis, it was about transformation. About rediscovering life, about choosing joy in the face of uncertainty, about taking back control when it feels like everything is slipping away. I heard the echoes of pain, of fear, of confusion. Yes, those moments are real. But beyond that, I heard something even louder. I heard strength. I heard defiance against despair. I heard gratitude for life in its purest, rawest form. To Maria, who was spoon-fed by her husband, unable to feel anything from the chin down, and yet today she stands not as a victim of MS, but as someone who has rebuilt her health, reclaimed her life, and found happiness she never knew before. Her story tells us that even in our darkest hours, there is light ahead. To Evelina, who once feared her future, her dreams of love, family, and success seeming suddenly fragile, only to realize that MS gave her permission to finally put herself first, to love herself, to see the richness of life that was always there. And now, as she prepares to walk down the aisle, she carries with her not just a bouquet, but the realization that happiness is a choice, a practice, a daily commitment. To Elena, who reminds us that different doesn't mean worse, that sometimes an MS diagnosis forces us to pause and actually see life, the slow walks, the deep breaths, the moments we once rushed through. And in that pause, in that shift, she found clarity, peace, and a new kind of beauty in the world around her. To Wim, who embraced multiple sclerosis not as an ending, but as an opportunity, who turned to movement, meditation, and a life filled with purpose, choosing every day to celebrate the big and small joys. Your story is a call to action, reminding us that our bodies may change, but our ability to adapt, to embrace, to choose joy never disappears. To Damien, who first heard you have MS and thought only of Montal and Annette pain, of hardship, of struggle, only to discover that within the fear lay the map to transformation. That fear led him to build a YouTube channel, to create, to connect, to turn MS into a community, into purpose, into flowers blooming from what once felt like nothing but ruins. To Phil, whose MS took away his ability to play music, but not his spirit, who refused to accept that loss and through sheer perseverance not only regained what was taken, but became a better musician than before. His message is clear: don't give up. Neuroplasticity is real. The brain wants to heal. You are not broken, you are rewiring. And to the incredible teams at the MS Trust and MS Society who dedicate their work to ensuring that no one faces this alone, who remind us that support exists, that resources are out there, that together we build bridges where MS once put walls. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here, for listening to this episode, for believing that life with MS, it's still full of meaning, possibilities, and hope. This podcast is more than just a platform. It's a space where people come together, share, remind each other that we are stronger than MS. To every single person who has followed me on the media, who listens to the Be Well with MS episodes for the last 5 years, I do appreciate that. You're amazing. I love you. Everything is so nice to know that each time I check my stats and I can see my stats are increasing with downloads and listeners. It's an amazing reward for me doing this on the spare time and trying to encourage people to share their wellness and to give that hope. Every single listener contributing their beautiful words to this episode. I see you. I hear you. I'm so grateful for you. If today's episode resonates with you, please share it with people who may need to hear this, may benefit, and let's spread this positivity, support, and awareness together. Until next time, stay strong, take care of yourself, and remember, your brain health matters. Bye for now.